Getting started off in our junior registered Boer breeding goat show percentages. We'll start our first class doe kid between August 6th and November 6th, 2024. Single entry class. Behind that, class 2 will have 3 entries.
Just a single entry to kick things off, but an awfully good one. I like that female an awful lot, just in terms of her neck setting, the way she's built in her shoulder, into her knee, and I think one that's awfully nice down her top line. She's not overwhelming in terms of power and dimension, but I think got more than enough. Anxious to get her back here at the end of the percentage show. Give that young man a nice round of applause as he heads out.
That entry was Blake Burns, Eastland FFA. He's a blue ribbon winner. Class 2 now entering the ring. 3 entries in this class. May 6th to August the 5th, 2024. Class 3 should be in the holding area. Class 3, you should be in the holding area. 17 animals in Class 3.
A nice trio here, and obviously a little spread just in terms of size and scale. But I think that just the highest quality one is the one we're going to lead off with, even though she's not the biggest and not the stoutest. But that one paints a very, very neat picture from the side. I think just in terms of height of the shoulder, the way she's built in her blade, down her top line, her extra length there is very, very good. Again, two-dimensionally, and paints a very good picture. You know, I think she's got enough dimension relative to her size and scale. She handles good in terms of her squareness right behind her shoulder. If I was going to tweak her just a little bit, I think you could change and make her hind leg just a nickel more attractive, maybe just a little bit stouter, but that's a very, very unique looking one from the side. I think the one that comes in second's got an advantage just in terms of chest width and total center body. I like that one in terms of her width as you study her up high. You back off of them, though, I think she reads just a little bit plainer in the way she's built down at the base of her shoulder, maybe not quite as unique in the way she's constructed up front is that winner, but that's fundamentally a very, very good piece of livestock. The red one that comes in next has got interesting pieces. I think just in terms of female quality, femininity, and just the way her neck sits on her shoulders, very good. As you back off of those, I don't know if she just strikes you as overly stout, and to me, she's one that needs to be redesigned. The way she's built in the slope to her shoulder down into her knees, she's just not real comfortable in terms of how she postures herself up front. That's kind of where I'd like to change her. Neat one there at the top end. Put your hands together for these 3 exhibitors.
Thank you for your comments. Placings will be Paige Wallace was 3rd. Paige Wilson was 2nd, and Levi Harper is your class winner. Levi is from Goldwaith. Paige Wilson is from East Central FFA, and Paige Wallace, Lavernia FFA. Class 3 entering the ring at this time, 17 entries in Class 3 percentage doe kid, February 6th to May 5th, 2024. February 6th to May 5th, 2024. Over in the goat barn, we need Class 4 to the staging area. Class 3 is being judged at this time. If you are in Class 4 of the percentage does, Class 4, please come to the staging area.
interesting class, obviously. A lot of variety, a lot of differences in size and scale and maturity. But I think there's a top end that separate themselves relatively quickly. And well, I think within the top pair, quite contrasting in terms of type and kind. But when we lead off with, there's no doubt that she's just the most different from anything. She is pried open underneath. She's bold in her cage. She's stout from behind and absolutely enormous in terms of her feet and her limbs when you study her at the surface. I like that about her a good deal. Now, she's not as feminine about her head and her skull shape and her neck as the one that comes here in second, but certainly something's got to give when you make them that unique just in terms of their substance and their center body and their chest width. Now, two-dimensionally, I like this one that comes here in second a good deal. I think her neck and her shoulder, the way she's hooked up front is very, very good. And again, she paints a very nice picture just in terms of her length and her levelness, in particular out of her hip. I think it's quite good. You get on top of the does and get your hands on them. I think once you get underneath the hair, there's just not an abundant amount of just true dimension underneath of there. To me, that one needs to be just stoutened up underneath just a little bit. One that comes in next, I like that one at the ground a good deal. I think her feet and her bone is awfully good. Her hind leg assembly is very nice, and the way she uses it is very good. To me, as you back off of them, you can tell she's starting to deposit just a little too much fat up through her chest and her sternum. To me, I think that throws off her balance just ever so slightly. She's just a little bit further along from a condition standpoint. In particular, I think it's starting to show up front just a little bit. But I like that one's bone and soundness quite a bit. Young man does a nice job. It comes here in 4. It brings us a very solid doe. She's obviously not quite as just big and high performing and as some of these ahead of her. But that's functional livestock. I think that's got enough width. She's functional enough in terms of her structure relative to those does that go the does that lead out ahead of her. She's not quite as stout as some, and she's not quite as unique looking as you back off of them as some. So I think she kind of defaults here into 4, but nonetheless, that's a very sound one. That's very practical in terms of her type and kind. Good class. Put your hands together for them.
We appreciate the applause. We appreciate the comments. Class 3 percentage does. In 6th place, we had Brandon Salinas, Sherryland Pioneer FFA member. 5th place, Maddie Boyd from the Nolan County 4-H Club. 4th place goes to Wyatt Tucker, a Lampasas County 4-H member. 3rd place is Avery Fisher, Van Zant County 4-H member. Our 2nd place finisher comes to us from the Prairie Valley FFA chapter, Wheatland Carpenter, and your class winner out of the Eastland FFA chapter, Blake Burns. Class 4 coming in the ring at this time. Six entries here in class 4, 3 places. 6 entries means 3 places.
Nice pair up here at the top end. Again, contrasting in terms of type and kind. I think the red doe is very striking in terms of her neck setting. Way her shoulder blends into her foreribs, very good. And I think as you back off of them, I think her extra shot of length, and in particular from hooks to pins, kind of helps her balance and come together with just a little more captivating look than the one that comes here in 2. So again, I think just in terms of backing off of them and striking a look, you can appreciate. I think that's where she excels. Now, there's more dimension in the one that comes here in second. I think just in terms of genuine forerib shape and spread up to the top side of their skeleton, that's kind of where she excels. Unfortunately for her, she's just a little more compact in terms of her type and kind, a little further along in terms of her condition, but nonetheless, that's a very good kind of female just in terms of having some extra stoutness. One that comes here in 3 is a lot like her, maybe just a shot more moderate even. To me, I think that one's boldness of body is very good. And to me, what gets her in trouble is she's just a little more upright and a little more stilty off of both ends of her skeleton. I think we may make that one just a little more flexible off of both ends. Then we round off with 2 that, again, or 3 of them, excuse me, that just end up kind of falling out from just a dimension standpoint. I think those just need to be pried open underneath and given a shot more dimension, both coming and going. But another good class. My compliments to those 6 exhibitors. If you would, put your hands together for them.
Class 4 percentage yearling does. That was August 6th of 2023 to February 5th, 2024. Placings. Third place goes to Lexi Gravely. Second place is a Gracie Graff. And our class winner, Lauren Sutton, a Hillsboro FFA member. Gracie Graff was from Kerr County 4-H, and Lexi Gravely is an Aubrey FFA member. Class 5 has 7 entries. 7 entries in Class 5. Once again, 3 places out of the 7. Class 5 of the percentage does. Those are February 6, 2023 to August 5th, 2023. Birth dates, February to August 2023.
Really nice trio here, and within those, I think a pair of them that a little bit different in terms of type and kind, and ultimately kind of got to ask myself where I want to be within this pair, and because there's one that kind of strikes me as having some kind of out there parts and pieces, but maybe the biggest issues as well, and then ultimately kind of land on this one to lead off because I don't think she's quite as problematic. Now, I don't know if she's quite as extreme in terms of her width and length, but I do find her to be a little bit more attractive in terms of her head shape, her neck, the way she's built down into her lower part of her chest and shoulder, I think is a little bit neater. And then you ask them to go. I think her hind leg and the way she sits down on her rear foot and pasterns, just a little bit more ideal. Now, she's not quite as stout and she's not quite as long, but to me, I think just her extra elegance up front combined with her hind leg being a little bit better, I think helps her kind of excel within my mind. One that comes here next, again, is interesting. That one's chest. Her body, that one's extra length from the side, I think is awfully good. To me, as you back off of them, she strikes me as a little bit waisty in terms of the way she's built in her neck, down into her chest and lower body, and then you ask them to go. She kind of wants to sit down, just a little too soft off of her rear foot for me, but nonetheless, there's some big-time parts in that one, and I think that pair is very, very close. One that comes here next is big-footed. I like that one in terms of her substance. As you back off of those, though, she's just a little bit shorter and a little bit plainer in terms of how she's designed and the way she balances up from the side. A little deeper shouldered and chested, a little flatter in terms of her stifle. To me, I think that hinders her balance just a little bit, but that one's opened up, soft-bodied, and certainly functional in terms of her skeleton. One that comes in next, a little longer, a little more extended, a little later maturing type of female. She's just a little flatter in terms of her center body and rib cage. We need to open that one up just a little bit in terms of how her rib comes out of the top of her spine. But again, very, very good class. Again, the interesting pair there at the top end.
Class 5 placings coming to us from the Edinburgh Vela FFA chapter. In third place, Maya Moreno. Our second place winner is a Kerr County 4-H member, Gracie Graff. And our class winner comes to us from Prairie Valley FFA, Wheatland Carpenter. Just a reminder, no spiked collars, no pronged collars, no collars with any kind of points that might push into the animal's throat. Please abide by the rules. We don't want to have to kick anybody out. Class 6, 2 entries, 1 place. 2 entries, 1 place here in Class 6.
Interesting pair here. We're going to leave them in the order in which they came and lead off with one that, again, maybe not quite as stout and quite as dimensional as I'd prefer, in particular when you get behind them. But to me, I think that female's got a distinct advantage in terms of just some extra length, height the shoulder, and length of neck up front. And when you study that one in terms of her blade and the way she's built down into her knee and foot, I think that's kind of where she's got a distinct advantage. Her front skeleton functions quite a bit better than this one that comes here in 2. Now, the one that comes here in 2 is obviously stouter. I like that one's center body. I like the extra dimension that she's got in terms of her upper hip and stifle. To me, as you study her come in the ring, though, she struggles up front, and it's just the way she's built from the top of her shoulder down into her knee and down to the ground. I think that's one that needs to be softened up and given just a little bit more angle and set a little bit truer up front in the way she travels there. But again, a very nice pair that's contrasting in terms of type and kind. My congratulations to them.
Class 6, first place is Lauren Sutton. Caitlin Salazar was our other exhibitor in that class, only 2 exhibitors in the class. Class 7 is also a 2-entry class. If you were a first or second place finisher in the first 6 classes, please report back to the staging area. First and second place finishers in the first 6 classes, please report back to the staging area so we can line you up for the selection of the grand champion percentage doe. There is a $10,000 scholarship offered for the winner of that.
Pair here that's, again, a little bit interesting. I think the one we lead off with, I think, has got just a decisive advantage in terms of her front skeleton, the way she handles that, and the way her forerib is built into her lower body, I think is quite a bit better. She just strikes me as a little bit more maternal, a little more productive in terms of her center rib cage. And again, one I like a good deal in terms of her hind leg assembly, her extra stoutness of bone when you go to the ground on them. I think that's a nice female to go ahead and lead off with here. One that comes here next, obviously long-bodied, level-spined. I like the way that one's neck comes out of the top of her shoulder. She's just a little more stilty and a little more upright in how she travels and handles her front skeleton. And then obviously, relative to that winner, not quite as opened up and quite as productive in terms of her center body and how it hits you. But again, I think a good kind of female just in terms of some extra length and the way her neck ties up front. My congratulations to them.
Thank you once again for your comments there, Mr. Carlisle. Class 7 percentage age doe, February 5th, 2022 and older. Class winner from the Van Zandt County 4-H Club, Avery Fisher. If we can get all of our first and second place finishers in all 7 classes now back to the staging area, we'll get you lined up. We'll pick our champion percentage doe. entering the ring at this time. We will have our first place entries from the first 7 classes, and we'll have those that actually placed in the second position, got a ribbon. They're allowed to come back in for the judging for reserve champion. Leading the way in, Class 1 was blue ribbon winner Blake Burns. Class 2 was Levi Harper. Our Class 3 winner was once again Blake Burns. Class 4 was Lauren Sutton. Our Class 5 winner, Wheatland Carpenter. Lauren Sutton also won Class 6. And our Class 7 winner was Avery Fisher. Those are our 7 winners. Now we'll bring in our second place finishers. We did not have one in Class 1. Our Class 2 finisher, second place finisher, Paige Wilson. Class 3 is Wheatland Carpenter. Our Class 4 second place finisher was Gracie Graff. Class 5 also Gracie Graff. And Class 6 and 7 did not have an official placing in the second place.
Well, as we come to the conclusion of your percentage show, if you're still left ringside, put your hands together for this set of showmen and exhibitors. They've brought together a very, very nice set. A lot of differences represented and a lot of differences in terms of presentation, but nonetheless, I think a lot of quality. Tried to keep it efficient here, rolling through them. I thought all the classes were pretty clear cut for me, but nonetheless, I want to take some time to describe them along the way and kind of what I saw in them. But as we get them back out here, there's one that I think kind of suits me as just being a little bit of an outlier. She's not necessarily perfect, but to me, I think just in terms of pushing the envelope, there's one that suits me quite well. And then I think maybe gets a little bit closer for reserve. I think there's some that are a little more juvenile that will certainly have their day, maybe just aren't quite as just stout and quite there yet today. And then maybe some that are maybe just a little bit over-conditioned for me on the other end. But ultimately decide to land on one that I think is relatively fault-free for reserve, that's presented well, shown well. My compliments to both of these showmen. Young man out of Class 3 is going to be your champion. Young man out of Class 5 is going to be your reserve. If you would, put your hands together for him. A nice round of applause.
Champion percentage doe comes out of class number 3, Blake Burns. Reserve champion percentage doe comes out of class 5, Wheatley Carpenter. At the end of the full blood show, we will have a scholarship presentation with the percentages. Both the grand and the reserve percentage need to be available after the full blood show for the scholarship presentation.
Go ahead. We're going to go ahead and get started with the full blood show. If you will start bringing up your Class 12 entries. Excuse me. Class 11 entries. Full blood Class 11. Okay, so Class 11 is all staged. They're actually looking for Class 12. If you want to start bringing your Class 12 full-blood doe kids up, we would appreciate it. Class 11 is all present and ready to go.
Well, very nice class to kick into our full blood show, and I think a very easy and very logical winner for me. I think one that comes in with some extra presence. I think I like her female quality about her skull and her neck and the way it hooks up into her shoulder. And yet, to me, I think her decisive advantage within this class is she's got actual dimension in terms of her body shape and squareness behind her shoulder. To me, I think she's a good combination doe to go ahead and start. One that comes in next is just the next wide widest one in terms of her chest, her forerib and body shape, and leaves you with enough base width. As you back off of her, she's not quite as good in terms of how her tying is built up front, a little low and on the front side of her shoulder in terms of how her neck sits in it, maybe a little more upright in terms of her shoulder as well, but another nice one there in 2. When it comes here in 3, I actually think it's close between 3 and 4. I think there's a little more moderation, a little more just width and dimension in the one that comes here in 3. As you back off of them, though, she's not quite as striking in terms of her look and design as the one that comes here in 4. So if you want to switch that pair, I'm not going to argue with you, because the one here in 4 is long-necked, super good in terms of her top-line construction. The only problem is you watch that one come and go. She just gets too flat and too narrow all the way through. Then we have 3 awfully good ones along the rail over there. Just kind of run out of just having enough in terms of forerib and body shape and enough true dimension at the top side of their skeleton. Good class there. Good way to kick into our full-blood show. Put your hands together for them.
Class 11, full-blood doe kids. Third place finisher, Wyatt Tucker, Lampasas County 4-H. Second place goes to Braden Wallace, Lavernia FFA. And your class winner, also from Lavernia FFA, Paige Wallace. Class 12 is in the staging area. We'll call for Class 13. Class 12 is in the staging area. We're going to call for Class 13. 19 individuals in this class. There will be 6 places.
Good class, a lot of depth here, a lot of differences. And I think at the top end, I think one that's kind of commanding in terms of getting your attention. Not only is she kind of loud and cool marked, but the dapple doe is awfully nice just in terms of her construction on both ends of her skeleton and having the right kind of rib cage. There's some genuine dimension in that female, and again, paints an awfully good picture from the side just in terms of how she's constructed up front and the way she's designed out of her hip and hind leg. I think that's a good place to start. I think it gets a little closer from there on back. I think there's a little more uniqueness in the red doe to go ahead and be second, in particular up front. I read her to be just a little bit cleaner at the base of her chest and sternum, maybe not depositing some extra fat and skin down there yet. And again, I think has enough in terms of squareness from behind to go ahead and go with it. I think that one's awfully unique looking, maybe just not quite as bold in terms of her forerib as the one that starts. One that comes in next, I like in terms of her neck attachment. Her levelness, the top line's good, and that one's got some substance at the ground. ultimately, as I kind of asked myself when we get down to the top three here, she just strikes me as a little bit plainer relative to that top pair. And I think it's just the way she's designed in her lower shoulder, down into her breastbone and chest there. I think she could be cleaned up just a notch there down in her lower 1/3. I think the one that comes here in 4, again, probably just in terms of volume of product and dimension, she's got arguably as good of an advantage within this class as any of them. Ultimately, she just doesn't strike me as real female-like in terms of her head and her neck and the way it sits in the front side of her shoulder. I think she could be made just a little bit more feminine up through the front 1/3 of her body. A little cleaner necked, a little cleaner throated type doe is the one that comes here in 5. Ultimately, though, she's just a little deeper in terms of her chest and a little more waisty in terms of her underline. I don't think she's quite as sleek and from a balance and design standpoint, despite being better in terms of her throat and her neck. And then when you get behind her, she's just a little flatter, stifled, maybe not as much genuine dimension and power as you stand behind him. Good class, nice winner there. Put your hands together for him.
Placings in Class 12 full-blood doe kids, February 6th to May 5th, 2024. Sixth place goes to Maddie Boyd, Nolan County 4-H member. Fifth place goes to Braden Wallace, Lavernia FFA member. Fourth is Lily Reitmeyer, Taylor County 4-H. Third is Brandon Salinas, Sherryland Pioneer FFA. Second is Briley Garza, Winners FFA, and your class winner coming out of the Nolan County 4-H program, Maddie Boyd. I think we've got Class 13 staged. We'll be ready for them. First call, Class 14. Class 13 in the ring at this time, 11 entries in the class. 4 placers, 11 entries, 4 placers.
Another good class, arguably as deep as we've had here yet through your percentage and full blood show. A lot of quality represented there, and I think a top pair that separate themselves relatively quickly just based on freshness and presentation, first impression. I think all those things are very good in this top pair. Ultimately, I'm more comfortable leading off with the one that we do just because she's so much more comfortable out here. I think just in terms of her presence, her posture, I think she just stands a lot more natural, a lot more comfortable, and I think it has to do with her angles. Her shoulder blade, her knee set, the way she plants down at the ground up front is quite a bit better than the one that comes here in second, so that ends up being the difference. A very feminine, very good built type of female that I like a good deal in terms of her center body. One that comes here next spreads with a lot of dimension of the top side of her skeleton. I like the fact that she's very authentic in terms of having some extra stoutness and extra dimension underneath the hair coat, because she is fresh looking and freshly presented, and my compliments to her on that. To me, ultimately, I just don't know if she's good enough in terms of her blade and her knee, the way she's built down to the surface, and then again, kind of a little more awkward in how she plants and stands on her rear leg as well. Just need to make that one a little more comfortable as she stands out here. Very good functional piece of livestock comes here in 3. I think probably, unarguably, probably a little more sound in terms of her skeleton and how it's organized. She's got plenty of dimension. To me, she's just a little plainer in the way she's constructed off of both ends, a little more nondescript in her muscle, a little deeper up front, and has a little more waist in terms of her neck and chest. and the way she's built in her lower shoulder. Need to make her a little cleaner there. One that comes here next has got an advantage in that regard. A little thinner neck, a little neater shoulder. As you stand behind her, though, she's just a little narrower to her pins, gets a little flatter in terms of her stifle, not quite as much genuine punch as you stand behind them, but nonetheless, I like the front two-thirds of that one a good deal. A stout one comes in next, again, just a little off-built in terms of how she's built in her shoulder and her knee, and I think then you start running into some does that just aren't quite enough, not enough power and dimension when you get your hands on them or stand behind them. Good set of females there, a lot of depth. Put your hands together for them.
Thank you for the comments on Class 13 full-blood yearling does. Fourth place is Briley Garza, winner's FFA member. Third place goes to Wyatt Tucker from the Lampasas County 4-H. Our second place winner is Maddie Boyd, Nolan County 4-H. And our class winner from the Prairie Valley FFA chapter, Wheatland Carpenter. Coming in the ring at this time, Class 14 full-blood yearling does. 8 entries in this class, 8 entries, full-blood yearling does.
Nice pair here, and I think there's some give and take, very different from one another. And ultimately, I think there's just a little more female quality in the one we lead off with. Quite a bit better in terms of her head and her neck shape and the way she's built in her lower shoulder. And then to me, I think one advantage that she's got that is quite evident is she's just quite a bit more relaxed in terms of the center of her back and spine. Just strikes me as a little more female-like relative to the one that comes here in 2. If you want some extra stoutness and boldness, I think you can certainly like the one that's come here in 2nd. Unfortunately, she's just a little coarser built in terms of how she strikes me, a little rounder shouldered, a little thicker necked, and as we discussed on that winner, you know, she's just kind of up in her middle of her spine. I'd like to relax her in the way she handles her top line there. But again, there's some extra boldness and dimension there if that's the kind you want to tie to. One that comes in next, awfully extended, awfully good in terms of her height, the shoulder, shortness of blade. I think as you get on top of her, she's just a little flatter bodied, not quite as dimensional in terms of how she's built in her forerib and heart girth. And then I'd like to change her in terms of her foot shape and the way she's built there at the surface in terms of her hooves and the way she's built there into her pastern, but a very, very nice one in terms of her female quality. A little more stoutness and dimension and moderation is the one that comes here in 5. She's just a little fatter than I'd prefer. I think we could trim her up just a notch and a little bit coarser in terms of how she's built off of both ends of her skeleton. Again, good class, a lot of depth there. My congratulations to them once again.
Thank you again for the applause and the comments comments on the class from Judge Barrett Carlisle. Class 14, 3rd place, Christopher Bailey, a Harris County 4-H member. 2nd and 1st place both go to Maddie Boyd from the Nolan County 4-H program. Class 15 in the ring. 2 entries in the class means 1 place.
Just a pair of them here, but I think a logical way to align them. A very stout, very dense, very hairy one to go ahead and lead off with. I think just in terms of center body and squareness and dimension from behind, I think that's kind of where she sets the standard within the pair. She's not quite as neat in terms of her neck or quite as extended above her blade, but I think got enough female quality to justify the win within this set of contemporaries. When it comes in next, obviously later maturing, a little more extended, as we discussed. I like that one in terms of her length and neck. She's just a little flatter ribbed, a little more harsh in terms of her center body. To me, you need to make her more productive there in terms of her rib cage. But again, a very, very nice pair. My compliments to them.
Wyatt Tucker will be the placer, 1st place. Lampasas County 4-H, Wyatt Tucker in Class 15. Class 16, full-blood age does, 4 entries in the class, 4 entries in the class.
challenging class, in particular this bottom trio, but I think a very obvious one at the top end. Again, young man's brought us a nice set tonight, very well presented, very well shown. That's a good female, I think, just in terms of her head and her neck, way it sits on top of her shoulder, her extra length of spine is good. And what I like about her is just the way she's built in her knee and down into her front foot. They actually point north, and I like that about her. And again, just matches it with some squareness as you get behind her as well. One that comes here in second, again, just in terms of length and performance, can certainly run with that class winner. She's just not the same type in terms of rib cage and body, and again, just not quite as stout in terms of her foot and bone. But I like the way she's built in her knee and down to the surface better than the one that comes here in 3. One that comes here in 3, standing still. I can justify moving up into second pretty comfortably. We ask him to go. She's just too stilty and too upright up front. I'd like to set her back in terms of her knee and redesign the way she's built at the ground. We round off with one that's got some extra dimension and spread up high. I like that one in terms of her squareness up through her chest floor, and as she leaves you get off the side of her, she just doesn't balance in terms of her weight distribution quite good enough. She's a little deeper up front relative to her flank and just a little flatter stifled. I think it throws her out of balance just a little bit. But again, my compliments to those 4 exhibitors.
Class 16 full blood aged does. Second place went to Reese Rinks, Alito FFA. Class winner, Wheatland Carpenter, Prairie Valley FFA. We're going to get them lined up back there. We'll bring them in for the selection of our overall grand champion full blood doe and the reserve right following that. Coming back into the ring at this time, we've got our full-blood doe show class winners. From Class 1, we've got Paige Wallace. Our Class 2 winner is Miss Maddie Boyd, or that was actually, Class 1 is actually Class 11. Class 12, Maddie Boyd. Class 13 is Wheaton Carpenter. Class 14 was Maddie Boyd. Class 15 is Wyatt Tucker. And Class 16 is Wheatland Carpenter. Now we'll bring in our second place finishers. Class 11, second place, Braden Wallace. Class 12 was Briley Garza. Class 13, Maddie Boyd. Class 14, Maddie Boyd. And Class 16, Reese Rinks. We have our scholarship on the line with these youngsters. We have representatives here from the San Antonio Livestock Exposition. If you had the champion percentage doe, please come back to the arena at this time. And the reserve champion percentage, please. If the reserve champion percentage doe also, we would like y'all for publicity purposes. The champion was Blake Burns, and Wheatland Carpenter is up here. We know that for sure already. So if we could get those up here, we'd appreciate it.
We'll keep things moving for you. I know it's been a long day for all these exhibitors. If they exhibited this morning or if they had to stick around and wait for the commercial show to be over. It's been a long day. It's been a hot day, so we'll keep things moving here. But again, it's been a pleasure to be here all day to sort through your goats and work with your young people. It's been absolutely incredible just in terms of quality, but as I mentioned earlier, just the sportsmanship and the interaction with the kids has been positive all day, and that goes a long way in making a long day just a little bit less so, I guess, from my perspective. So my compliments to everybody once again. This full-blood show's been outstanding. I think the top end has been incredibly high quality. There's some differences in them, and you can do a couple of different things. There's one I like a good deal, and I think kind of stands out within this lineup, and then I think you could do 3 or 4 different ways for reserve. But nonetheless, we'll keep things moving here. But my compliments to this set of exhibitors. Thank you again to San Antonio, all the volunteers, all the people responsible for getting these scholarships available for these young people. It goes a long way in helping these kind of shows and helping this set of showmen. So one last time, put your hands together for San Antonio and all the volunteers over here. I'll go show your champion in reserve, but once again, it's been my pleasure. Congratulations to this set of young people.
Coming out of Class 16, Wheatland Carpenter will be your grand champion full blood and the recipient of a $10,000 scholarship. We will go all the way back to Class 12. The winner there was Maddie Boyd, and she will be the reserve champion full blood doe. We thank y'all for coming out today. We appreciate your patience. Over 700 animals exhibited in this arena today. and it was run well because y'all made it to the ring on time. We appreciate that. We appreciate Barrett Carlisle taking time to come down from Chile, Kansas, and work with our youth here at the San Antonio Livestock Exposition.